Hello Aries friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Aries April 2022 Astrology Must-Knows Horoscope Forecast. Definitely go to anniehelpsyou.com for the interface for all the many free goodies I make for you each month. If you are a YouTube viewer, you can go to the More button with the arrow in the bottom right of the video in case you forget that website address by the time we're done here, and it will reveal links for all of the places where you will want to go to get your goodies. Now, if you are in my podcast listening crew, which is expanding very rapidly, welcome to you all too on my Astro Kisses podcast. You can just look in the notes underneath the podcast to see all the links for the free goodies. This is for you if Aries is your sun sign, your rising sign, or your moon sign, or any other placement you have in Aries. If you've been watching my reports or listening, you know that I have Aries rising and I have a ton of Sag in my chart, so I'm a very zesty fire energy like you. And this is also for you if you're watching for any other Aries placement like Mercury, Mars, Venus, any of those. This is part of your astrological picture. If you're a very late degree placement, like if your birthday is from April 15th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 25 degrees or so through the rest of the sign, then I suggest that you additionally listen to or watch my Taurus report. You late degree friends will get benefits from both the Aries and the Taurus reports. April is one of my absolute favorite months of the whole year from the astrological perspective. I'm excited about it for everybody, but there are definitely some specific things I'm very excited about for Aries. So let's just go down my list of must-knows. First big must know is that we have almost twice as many sweet aspects as we do salty ones. You know, I always look at this salty and sweet profile to give us an idea of the flavors of the month. And it is good. The planets are in accord, they're speaking nicely, they're interacting harmoniously, they're on each other's side, and there's just a couple of little bumps that are very minuscule compared to the awesomeness this month. We do also have a big, once-in-a-lifetime, rare connection with Jupiter and Neptune, which we'll talk some about later, but I did do a whole separate video on that, so you can search for Annie Botticelli Jupiter-Neptune conjunction to get the lowdown on that mega transit. But in general, you know, just so much sweetness this month. One of my other big must-knows that makes me so happy, and as an action-oriented Aries, I'm sure you will agree, that this is time for action, and that is something to celebrate. We have from March 3rd through April 27th as a big open window free from personal planet retrogrades. This is one of only two such periods in this whole year of 2022, the other one being June 19th through August 21st. Then we have our ruler going retrograde, shadow period starting in September, and that will cover until 2023. So we really have a very internal, reflective, backwards focused sort of year, with the exception of March and April and part of June, July, and August. So I know that I always talk about sweet things to do during the retrogrades, and they don't have to be bad, they can be amazing. But for action-oriented people like us, people who love momentum and love forward movement and love not being hindered by things in our way, we will love this month because it has the fewest hindrances and the fewest obstacles to us getting what we want and doing what we want. So that is something to celebrate. Make the most of it. This is an amazing time, some of the best in the whole year for engagements, weddings, big parties, travel, anything having to do with something that needs a lot of details or that wants to be long-term. Big launches, new moves, or buying or selling something really important, agreements, contracts, any of those things, like a launch of a business, a launch of a book, a launch of, you know, your career, anything that is important that wants to have a nice birth date with good forward moving and the tides going out. This is a perfect month for that. Now, when I always talk about the tides going out, if you haven't heard this reference before, when we're in the retrograde time, it's more internal and backwards and the tides are going in. So that's pretty much most of the year this year, okay, except for the dates that I gave you. But when the tides are going out, which is when the planets are direct, this is when you can put something out to sea and the waves will just carry it out without you barely having to do anything. You're not paddling against the tides. This is a time for your active web weaving, expanding webs into other areas where you can catch delicious food and yummy things for you once the retrogrades are here and the tides are going in, and you just sort of wait and see what comes to you. But this is the time for active web weaving, making plans, especially making plans for the other open time. So you can make plans in March and April for March and April. Or you can be making plans in March and April for that June 19 through 8/21. And of course, these dates might not be exact for the plans that you make, but that's the most open time that you'll have the least mischief from any retrograde uncertainty or things being called into question, which is what tends to happen in the retrograde. So yay, big celebration, big must know for Aries at this time. Another big must know, of course, is that we have the planets moving through Aries, including a continuation of Aries birthdays. So happy birthday to you if you're having your birthday now. Also, happy sun crossing over your Aries placement if you're having that, either, in the March, April time frame. That is also a big boost, a new regeneration and rebirth time, and a time when your intentions and wishes are more loud for the universe, and the universe is more receptive to the things that you're intending or desiring. So this is just a magical time when the sun is speaking your language, which is where you shine, which is your expression. Mercury is also your expression, communication, transportation, how you're getting on with other people. This is all in accord with the language that you speak. We do also have outer planets moving through Aries, which are long-term. I mean, Eris is there for like ever. And we do have Pallas Athena, the star goddess, that is just all about everything Aries, courageousness, anything that you have to do to inspire yourself or others, anything that you want to do to regenerate your image. This is the time for that. Now, it is important to know that in the weeks before your birthday or the time that the sun crosses over your Aries placement, we have a lot of crowding of energies in the 12th house. So we have to speak about that as well. The 12th house energies really bring your fears, addictions, anxiety, uncertainty, insecurities up in a big way. Now that sounds, oh, Annie, that sounds terrible. Why are you telling me this? Well, I see this as a very positive thing because those things are often swept under the rug. And especially for Aries people, we just tend to do and not think or worry about things. But those fears that we don't take the time to work with can get buried and turn into pain, physical pain, emotional pain, insomnia, and cause other problems for us that we might not think are related to it. So being action-oriented is so wonderful for so many things. But sometimes our relationship with our feelings, and the fears and the addictions and the insecurities and, and even just ancestral things. I mean, the topic of epigenetics is one that is very, very, very important and growing. And I talk about this quite a lot as it relates to astrology. But the 12th house is a very strong epigenetics connector because epigenetics has to do with how we activate genes. Okay, so basically, it was believed before that the genes determined everything. So once they were, figuring all of this stuff out with the Human Genome Project, trying to map the DNA, they were thinking it was because, one of the areas of focus, well, besides the pharmaceutical industry, that's a whole other story, but had to do with, we are ruled by our genes. That's what they thought. That's what they were teaching in the schools. And that's it. So if you have a genetic predisposition to something, you're done, it's happening, it's too bad. But the study of epigenetics that's really pushed into the forefront by Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, you can check out his work, talks about the fact that the environment of the gene is more important than the gene itself because we can switch on and switch off genetic tendencies. And that is either through patterns that we have, that's through the manifestation of things in our lives that maybe our ancestors experienced. A lot of times we're experiencing things and it feels like it came from somewhere. Maybe it's our past life if you believe in that, but it could also be an ancestor's life that's communicating through the gene, the gene mode. So what this means is that we have more say in what manifests than we think. And so this has to do with environment. Now, what environment constitutes is very far and wide, but it does include our outlook on things, the way that we see things, the way that we treat our bodies, the perspectives that we have, the way we treat other people. Our home environments, the kinds of things we eat, all of those things are all part of the quote environment that can affect genes, and also stress levels. So as wonderful and productive as Aries placements are, we have our adrenals blown all of the time. So you'll hear me talk about this now. I've talked about it before and I will talk about it again. If your adrenals are not happy, you are going to be more aggravated, you're going to be more stressed, and these negative gene traits can manifest more easily, and you're negatively affecting your telomeres. Telomeres are the section on the outside of the genetic codes, basically, and they have a lot to do with our longevity and our health and our wellness. And so stress destroys telomere length. So what we want to use this period for, when all of this stress or discomfort is coming up, is to really reevaluate all of these things that I'm talking about and see how you can reduce your stress and have positive stress, and how you can protect your body from stress. And one way to do that is taking care of your adrenals. So of course, I'm not a doctor. You have to look into this to see what's safe for you in your situation. I don't know your situation, but do some research on how to heal your adrenals, adrenal fatigue. You might find that you have symptoms that, once you start to go down this path, you might be able to get professional help and get this rectified. And that might be the big breakthrough that happens at this time, and also in the eclipse energies, which we are going to get to. So, big must know is time to face your fears, bust through them, time to acknowledge fears that might be settling in your body that you didn't know you had, and work with them. Another great way to do this is the Presence Process by Michael Brown, one of my all-time favorite ways to change the environment that your genome is hanging out in and manifesting through. Okay, so Aries, speaking your language, adding fire to your fire, zest, ambition, drive to do things, plus great support for pulling things through in the stars. Okay, so you've got all that. We talked about the fact that we have all these Pisces energies crowding in your 12th house and what that means. Now we're going to talk about this big Jupiter-Neptune lineup. I'm not going to go into a lot of the details of the potential manifestations that are general manifestations, but I do want to let you know that all the things that we just talked about in your 12th house, all of the ancestry, the fears, the addictions, the, hidden treasures within you that want to be brought out, you're going to have a once in a lifetime aspect in that sector of your chart with this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. Okay, so we're feeling this for March, April, May. It's strongest during April 8th through 12th, but really it's a 3-month transit. And so this might be the once in a lifetime experience and push that you need to get to deeper levels of the things that I'm talking about, which will help you even more to use the Aries energies, use your birthday, use when the sun crosses over your Aries placement for regeneration, realignment with your purpose and who you really feel you are, the courage to express yourself, your true self, the courage to put down your mask and look at some of the raw things that are behind that. And this can also be a time where your physical health can be evaluated and drastically improved. And this can also be your body image, your physical wellness, and putting some things in practice that can really reduce your stress and help your telomere length and help you to have a much more fulfilling and happy life. So that's all very exciting. Now, let's talk about the eclipses. Eclipse season starts mid-March, runs through mid-June, and the heat of the eclipse season is April and May. We've got a 10-degree Taurus solar eclipse on April 30th. We start feeling those energies well before that and well after that. We'll echo after that. But we want to talk about this. So right now we're going to talk about when this happened before, the dates that this cycle's happening now, what we tend to see in Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycles in general, what we see in eclipses in general, and then we're going to drill down to where this eclipse is going to happen for you in your chart and in your life. Okay, so let's talk about some general implications of eclipses and some dates and frames of reference, and then we'll dive into the details about where you're going to see the eclipse changes in your chart and in your life. So eclipses bring big changes. They are connected to the North and South node, which are calculated points on the ecliptic that relate to our highest expression in this lifetime, our dharma, fate and destiny, our karma, and activating our hidden gifts. And so you'll see a very big activation time. You'll feel the hand of the divine at work through synchronicity and non-negotiable trajectory shifts, major hellos and goodbyes, big windows closing and other ones opening. Eclipses tend to bring a lot of stress and drama. They can also bring a massive amount of manifestation, things that you've always wanted in many cases. So it's definitely a time where you feel like your finger is stuck in an electric socket for an extended period of time. So from the middle of March to the middle of June, we are in eclipse season. The eclipses are on April 30th and on May 16th. And this first eclipse is going to be on April 30th. It's a solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Taurus. All right, so this Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle started towards the end of 2021. We started to really heat that up September, October of 2021 and really felt it through January of 2022. And we are in this cycle until the end of 2023. Anything can happen from this storyline of the Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle at any time during these years. But it does tend to heat up and bring into the forefront, into our consciousness 6 weeks before and after the actual eclipses. That's why I said the middle of March, and then we've got one on May 16th. So we've got like to the middle end of June. This is our eclipse season, and it's very ripe with the types of things that we just listed. Now, to have a frame of reference as to the types of changes that might occur or storylines, think about the latter part of 2012 through the end of 2014. And also think about early 2004 through mid-2005. It's important to note, and I do often get this question, if something terrible happened then, does it mean something terrible is going to happen now? No, not necessarily, because there were other factors at play at that time, and it's hard to tell what changes were due to the combination of factors in those times, which might not be present at this time. But there are definitely themes that occurred at that time that are going to be coming back around now, and we'll go into the details of that for your sign here in a second. But just to kind of give some context, if you remember back to those periods of time, and the types of changes that happened then, you might see some parallels, some opportunities to make different choices, some lessons that were learned in that time frame that you are able to come back around now, and some patterns of experience, even for better or could be for worse, that you're still clearing through that could come back around for you to do some more work on. For every sign, Taurus and Scorpio relates to my stuff and our stuff. My individual sustainability, our coupleship or our relationship, your resources versus your resources shared with other people like the government or your spouse or your family, inheritances, sweepstakes, winnings, plus your individual income. This is the polarity we're talking about. So the push and pull between me and we and us and our stuff and my stuff is very strong. The material realm versus the intangible spiritual realm are all things that are going to come up into the forefront for all signs. Okay, so now that we have a good background in this eclipse cycle and some of the other pieces there, let's talk about where it's going to hit for Aries placements, okay? So as usual, we're going to talk about this on multiple different levels because I'm not content to just leave one layer out there and talk about, the more superficial, obvious layer. I want to go in deep and talk about things that are going to be affecting you and different layers of these truths, okay? So the first big must know is that from the whole house perspective and from the sign perspective, this eclipse is happening and activating Aries in your second house. Money. New streams of income is one of the top ways I see solar eclipses come in. Okay, a new stream of income, a new confidence in what you're bringing. Confidence sells. If you are sure about what you're doing, people will want to buy what you're selling at like hotcakes. And so you might have a shift to your money psychology. You might have a shift to your confidence. You might have a new income stream come in or a raise or an advancement. You might add a new stream of income to the income that you already have. So multiple ways that money could be coming in, or you could go deeper into the ways that you're already earning money. But this energy from the sign, from the house perspective, is very much about your self-sustainability, you being able to take care of yourself, and the way that you're working smarter instead of harder, which Aries loves, right? We love to find a shortcut that will help us to work less. Not that we're afraid of hard work, certainly we're not, but we like to do other things too, right? And so you might figure out a shortcut. You might figure out something that has to do with things that from the past that you're now activating to earn money from, a hobby that now makes money, or just a brand new thing that you never thought of that all of a sudden money's coming in from there, okay? This also can have to do with your ecological footprint. Those of you who are into focus of Earth sustainability and your imprint on the Earth, you could go solar, you could have, some kind of change, you could have a garden, you could, have something come in where you are living more in a way that feels sustainable to you. And this could be a brand new, wonderful opening. This also is going to, so you can look for my eclipses in Taurus. So search for let's go to YouTube, search for Annie Botticelli, eclipses in Taurus. I think you can even find it on a Google search. Then you want to look for eclipses in Taurus, because that's going to be the house and the sign, and that's going to talk about other ways that I've seen this manifest over my decades of tracking this. Now let's talk about the eclipse from the Placidus perspective, okay? So I do my charts usually as Placidus, but more and more I've been adding in some whole house insights just to give you more layers of this reality here. So the Placidus chart, for those of you who are March born or 0 to 10 degrees or so, you will also have the Placidus eclipse, the eclipse in the Placidus chart in the second house, okay? So that's just more energy there for you all. But if you are an April born or you're 11 degrees to the rest of the sign, the odds are that you're going to actually have this eclipse in the first house. Now that doesn't negate the second house manifestations. You will be seeing those for sure. But April born, 11 degrees to the rest of the sign, it's either going to be in or super near that first house for you. Now, those of you who are March born and early degree, you could also see manifestations in the first house because it's an early degree, it's close enough to the line there that you might see these first house manifestations. But the April born and the middle to later degrees, you're definitely going to have this energy manifest. So what does that look like? Okay, we talked some about the first house, regeneration, rebirth, your physical body, your image, how you present yourself, your mask. So those things that are being accentuated by the Aries energies are also things that are going to be focused on with the eclipse. But the eclipse brings even more power and long-term effects. So that means that the type of change that can occur can be pretty profound. So your me-we sectors are being very thoroughly activated by this eclipse cycle. We'll talk more about the Scorpio eclipse in the May report, but I can tell you right now, from the perspective of the duality of the Taurus Scorpio profile in your chart, this has to do with me versus we, you versus other people, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with other people, and your stuff versus their stuff. Your self-sustainability versus your spousal money, your family money, the money that you earn versus money that comes to you through inheritance or through sweepstakes or the government or the IRS or loans or angel investors. So your sector of your relationships is being completely activated at this time. The money sector, whether it's coming from me or we or wherever, completely activated, and more of this moving around of energies within those spectrums. Okay, so there are probably going to be very big relationship changes, and there are probably going to be very big relationship changes to your primary relationship, which is with yourself, but also your relationship with spirit. If you're a spiritual person, you could go way deeper into your relationship with spirit. If you're not, you might become a more spiritual person. So some kind of spiritual breakthrough can occur to help you see beyond the veils and the illusions of what is going on the tangible plane. Usually Aries people are straight shooters. Just tell me what's going to happen. Tell me how it is. But we all know that almost all of what there is in the world are not things that we know about yet. And almost all of what there is in the world are things that we can't see. Isn't that crazy? Because we see a lot in the world and we know about a lot in the world, but the vast majority of everything we don't know yet, or we know about but we can't see. That's on the cellular level, like microscopic level. That's on the intangible plane level, where there are things going on, the web of connectivity that is not visible usually to the naked eye unless you're supercharging your, intuition and your extrasensory perceptions. So your connection with the lesser seen things is very likely to get activated at this time, and it's all swirling around in this like polarity of seen versus unseen, tangible versus intangible, mine and yours and ours. So it's a very, 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 very big time. Definitely a life-changing month, and lots of big hellos and lots of big goodbyes. Okay, so I've given you lots to work with to help you make the most of the energies this month and to help you understand the energetic patterns at work and play. And if you'd like more resources, I've got all of these here. You can additionally go to the little more button, the little arrow underneath the bottom right of the video. Click on that, and all of the links that I'm giving you here will be clickable, right? So if you're looking for reading options, including a beautiful, very detailed 45-minute audio of your birth chart for $33 from my brilliant husband, you can find that at anniebclarity.com. You can go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter. This is where you can access running a free birth chart. This is where you access my 28-day in-depth virtual coaching program called Shine for free. This is also where you'll find tons of blogs, and you get lots of other perks for being on my newsletter list. If you're looking for written horoscopes by me, always up a month early, you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you haven't seen this site, go to it. It is so beautiful. We've got, me and my team have lots of amazing astrology-inspired blogs and healthy living blogs. We've got hypnosis for all the signs. We've got healing frequencies for all the signs. I've got the written horoscopes that I write. We have yoga for all the signs. So it's just a very beautiful, comprehensive site. If you're looking for free courses on how to manifest money and wellness, you can go to lumlife.com, my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, LUMLIFE. You can also find my astrology education courses here, including my behemoth of a master course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course, which you can fully utilize even if you don't want to be a professional astrologer, but it certainly will get you up to the level where you could be and show you how to make your business a success. And payment plans are available there too. Now, I've also got 2 books out and more on the way. Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. You will find this on the bookshelves in all major booksellers, including all the Books A Million, all the Barnes & Nobles. It's right there on the shelf. Plus, you can get it on Amazon and through any independent bookseller. And you can find Radical Prayer on Amazon, and you can order it anywhere as well. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye!